Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Cherry Pickers Podcast, a podcast where we talk all things hockey. My name is Zach, aka Zoo, and I'm joined here by my co-host, Brody.
How's it going, my man? Ready for episode 5? It's been a solid journey so far, and let's keep her going.
I am ready more than ever. Episode number 5. We are excited to go. So, let's just get right into it, Brody. I want to hit you with an absolute brain teaser fun fact. This NHL season's been kind of wild. I'm not going to lie to you. You want to know what's even more wild, Brody?
What's more wild?
What team, at the time of recording this, has the longest active win streak in the NHL?
It would be the team south of the Edmonton Oilers in the Calgary Flames.
You would be wrong.
I'd be wrong.
They lost last night, bud. 7-1 to the Canucks.
Oh, fair enough.
They do not have a win streak active. Who has the longest win streak, Brody?
Couldn't tell you, man. I don't know.
What if I told you? Tied with the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Montreal Canadiens.
That is a fun fact. I wouldn't have expected Montreal.
They're on a 4-game win streak right now under head coach Martin St. Louis. Montreal is buzzing right now. Absolutely buzzing. So let's just kick things off and let's just start talking about Montreal a little bit. They've had obviously their struggles halfway through the season. It looks like they're coming back a little bit to form. Let's talk about a goalie for Montreal. Let's talk about a guy by the name of Andrew Hammond. He won his first game in over 4 years of playing. He won for Montreal there. First win in 4 years. What do you think of the Hamburglar, Andrew Hammond?
You absolutely love to see it. The Hamburglar's been a solid goalie, and I'm not sure why he wasn't in the NHL the last 4 seasons, to be honest, but for him to come back and have a stellar performance and get another win, you love to see it.
Yeah, it's actually crazy that he hasn't played in 4 years. He gets a start with the Montreal Canadiens, absolutely dominates and gets the W for them. The Montreal Canadiens have actually been pretty dang good lately, especially with Marty St. Louis as the head coach. Cole Caulfield, he's been on a tear as well. I called it, folks. I called it. Cole Caulfield is going crazy now that he's under the guidance of Martin St. Louis, former Tampa Bay Lightning legend. I've heard some reports as well that the Canadiens are looking to be aggressive upcoming in free agency. It looks like instead of a full-on rebuild, it looks like that they're going to be just doing like a retooling. They're going to be getting rid of probably a few players at the trade deadline, stay low in the standings, get a high pick, and then they're looking to buy in free agency. What do you think of that idea for the Montreal Canadiens?
I mean, I don't mind the idea. I know that they have some long-term contracts tied up, and especially in Josh Anderson, and they would probably like to move Shea Weber, and Carey Price is still on his deal of $10.5 million. I'm not sure how many years left he has on that deal, but they're a team that's got term on quite a few contracts, so if they're going to want to go in and buy, they're definitely going to have to clear out some cap space first, which is probably what they're going to look to do at the deadline.
Yeah, the deadline, I think, is going to be an exciting one for the Montreal Canadiens. And like you were saying, they do have some long-term deals, bringing in Christian Dvorak. Realistically, we got to remember, folks, this Montreal Canadiens team, granted, they have lost a few key players on their roster last year, but they made it to the Stanley Cup final last year. Yes, they did lose Philippe Deneau. They lost Shea Weber due to injury. They lost Price due to injury, stuff like that. They lost Jesperi Kotkaniemi as well. But this Montreal Canadiens team is definitely better on paper than what they've actually been performing this year. I think that injuries have definitely been a big factor, obviously, not only just Price and Weber, but they've rotated through a handful of goalies, more than you can count on one hand. And I think this team does perform better when healthy, and they've just kind of had a rough go of things this year. So I do agree with you, Brody. I do think that retooling is going to be very interesting in the offseason. They do have to clear up some cap. Carey Price there, he's still signed for another 4 seasons with a full no movement clause. So that's going to be interesting. See if their new GM Kent Hughes can move some cap around, open up some space, bring in some new free agents. I like the team, honestly. I do like the team. They have some depth. but it's just been injuries and just no performance, and they just haven't been getting it done this year. But it seems like they're trying to turn things around, and it's exciting for them to see, especially, Cole Caulfield, Marty St. Louis clicking there behind the bench for him. So awesome to see in Montreal. Let's keep talking about them. It sounds like they're definitely ready to move on from Ben Sherratt. It sounds like Ben Sherratt will be going at trade deadline or sooner. Another interesting thing I heard as well is that it sounds like Kent Hughes isn't afraid to move Jeff Petrie around. It sounds like if the right deal comes along, he's going to have no hesitation to pull the trigger and move Petrie. Brody, what do you think are some possible destinations that Jeff Petrie could end up on?
I mean, he's a right shot defenseman, so he's definitely going to have interest from quite a few teams. I would say if Toronto can't get a hold of John Klingberg, Jeff Petrie might be a guy that they want to look into. I know Carolina was looking at some defensemen as well. Could definitely see him going to a team like that, or even in the Western Conference, like a team like Colorado. I know they were shopping around looking for some defensemen as well, as I think they were in on Ben Sherratt. So there's definitely some options for Jeff Petrie, and I think there's a fair few teams he could go to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Toronto aspect. I could definitely see Petrie going to Toronto, especially with Jake Muzzin going to the LTIR now. Another team I was thinking of that definitely could use a guy like Jeff Petrie on their team to bolster their blue line could be the Minnesota Wild, honestly. The Minnesota Wild are, I don't know, like they're definitely overperforming this year. If you look at their depth, they're not a depth team at all. Like you're looking at definitely, if you're Minnesota, looking at picking up some sort of offense at this trade deadline, just looking at their forward core right now, it is so lackluster. Nick Bukestad, Matt Boldy, Brandon Duhaime, Eriksson Ek's been all right. Fiala's been good. Marcus Foligno's definitely been playing better than expectations, but like Freddie Gaudreau, Jordan Greenway's out with an injury, Ryan Hartman, like they don't have the forward depth. So if you're Minnesota, I think that's definitely your first go-to, but their decor, it's not all that great. Like, I mean, like, it's not bad when it comes to players like Jared Spurgeon, Jonas Brodin. Matt Dumba's been out with an injury, so that doesn't help them. But realistically, Kalen Addison, Jordy Ben, Dmitry Kulikov, it's kind of rough there, especially for right-handed shots for Minnesota. So I could see him going to a team definitely like Minnesota in the West. I feel like as for Montreal, you don't want to trade him to the East, especially Toronto. So that one would be a little hard to see for Montreal to move there. But hey, if the fit works and the offer's right, then I mean we might see it happen. But so. Yeah, Montreal definitely ready to move Ben Sherratt, maybe even move Jeff Petrie, but it sounds like Montreal isn't buying into the whole full rebuild ideal yet. So we'll have to keep tabs on that and see what Montreal does coming closer to this deadline. And I'm also looking forward to free agency as well. So that should be interesting. Let's talk about two trades. Two trades happened this week in the NHL. Let's start with the more lackluster one. We had the Arizona Coyotes trade Carter Hutton to the Toronto Maple Leafs for future considerations. What are your thoughts on that trade, Brody?
I mean, I like it for perspective of the Arizona Coyotes. I mean, when you're looking to stockpile picks like they have this year, and Carter Hutton's not really a number one goalie in my opinion. I mean, he'll go to the Leafs and he'll be under Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek, so he'll be more like a third string goalie. So I like the trade for both teams. I feel like the Leafs have depth at goalie now if they need it, and Arizona's getting probably a future draft pick of some sort. So that's definitely something that the Arizona Coyotes could use going forward. So for me, I see a fit for both sides on that one.
Yeah, if you're the Arizona Coyotes, you are definitely trying to tank for that first overall this year. And I think getting rid of, I wouldn't say Carter Hutton's had a great season, but getting rid of, the more consistent NHL goalies on your roster definitely helps you, lose more games than is expected. But I like the trade a lot for Toronto, giving some depth in their goaltending system, just in case. You never know what would happen. Coming up to playoffs or in playoffs. You have two nice goalies there. You got Jack Campbell and you got Peter Mrazek, but like I said, you never know what could happen, and in case an injury does happen, they have that, solid goalie that can fill in that injury spot. So I definitely like the trade for Toronto. Interested to see what the return actually is instead of future considerations. So we'll keep tabs on that as well, but Let's talk about the bigger Toronto-Arizona trade. I don't know why this one wasn't thrown in. I don't know why this trade wasn't thrown in the originally, because this was the first trade that came out of Arizona and Toronto. Toronto trades Nick Ritchie and a second-round pick to Arizona for forward Ryan Dzingel and defenseman Ilya Lyubushkin. Toronto then goes to place Ryan Dzingel on waivers, trying to send him down to the minors, and San Jose claims Dzingel. So basically, long story short, the trade is Nick Ritchie and a second for Lyubushkin. Who do you think wins this trade, Brody?
Well, first of all, I mean, it's a choice of a 2023 second or a 2025 third round pick. It's up to the Arizona Coyotes on what they want. But for the trade, I mean, I like it for the Leafs. I mean, when you're adding a defenseman, a decent defensive defenseman in Lyubushkin, and I know they got rid of Dzingel. I think it was for cap reasons that they had to move him on waivers. So for the Leafs, I like that pickup of getting a solid defenseman. For the Coyotes, I mean, Nick Ritchie, he's like I believe he's a strong power forward. I don't really know too much about him, but I think he'll add to the depth in their bottom six. I mean, it's not a huge pickup for the Coyotes, but it's a solid player. He will help in their bottom six. A physical player, he'd probably help on the PK, chip in a little bit here and there offensively. So personally, I think it's a better deal for the Leafs, but depending what that draft pick turns out to be for Arizona, you never know.
I think, honestly, the winner of this trade here, honestly, is Nick Ritchie. Like, Nick Ritchie goes from playing, 5 years with Anaheim, 2 years with Boston, then he signs a big deal with the Leafs, and just couldn't get it done with the Leafs. Only 9 points in 33 games, -6 on a high-scoring Leafs team. So I think, realistically, this is such a win for Nick Ritchie because of the fact that he goes from one of the hottest hockey markets in the league where the pressure is always there to perform, especially if you're a decent free agent signing. You're signing a decent sized contract. The expectation there is just to perform and get the puck in the net and stuff like that, but he obviously isn't getting it done. He wasn't gelling well with the Leafs. So now he has the chance, to go to Arizona, a team that has literally zero, if not less, expectations. And he's obviously going to crack a roster spot for them. And here's the time now for Nick Ritchie really just to, start getting back into your role and start playing better and growing when there's no expectations put on you. You got to think, Nick Ritchie, he's really not that bad of a player. Like, he had 26 points in 56 games with the Bruins in the COVID lockout season. 15 of those were goals. He scored more than 10 goals in a season 3 times in his career. So he's not a bad little strong forward that can put the puck in the net for you here and there. So I think Nick Ritchie is definitely the winner of this trade. Definitely good for Arizona too as well. With them trying to, tank for Shane Wright, getting rid of another roster defenseman. So they get rid of a roster defenseman and a roster goalie, which is obviously only going to hurt them, which is kind of what they want. But I think it's good for Toronto too. Like you said, Dzingel did have to get sent through waivers because of cap reasons. After Dzingel was claimed, I think Toronto's something at only like $9,000 clear of cap space. So Toronto's in a little bit of a pickle there, but picking up a defenseman like Lyubushkin is very nice for Toronto, especially with Jake Muzzin going to IR. It's going to be good for Toronto to have a little bit more defensive depth, especially if defensemen like Justin Holl and stuff are struggling a little bit. So good trade all around. I think both teams win out of that. I think Nick Ritchie wins out of that. I think Lyubushkin wins out of that too. So that's a good trade there. That's 2 trades that happened this week that went down in the NHL. So speaking of what happened in the week, the NHL announced their 3 stars this week. First star of the week was Calgary Flames center Elias Lindholm. He had a 7-game goal streak, which is pretty awesome. He was 1 game shy of tying, I think he actually did tie the game streak with Jarome Iginla for most goals in games. But yeah, he was 1 game short. Couldn't get it done in that loss to the Canucks. Second star of the week is defenseman from the Florida Panthers, Aaron Ekblad. And then third star of the week, goalie for the Dallas Stars, Jake Ottinger. And Jake Ottinger, man, he's had a great season. I feel for him, Dallas has been such a fringe, borderline not making the playoffs team. And Jake Ottinger has definitely been having a absolute crazy good season. Him, Pavelski, Robinson. What's his name? Robertson. What's his name?
I believe it's Jason Robertson.
Jason. Thank you, Jason Robertson. Yeah, he's had a heck of a season too. So, kind of sucks that their team's not performing, especially with Joe Pavelski getting to that age. Sounds like the Stars are trying to re-sign Joe Pavelski, which is gonna be interesting. The Stars have just been, one of those teams, Brody, that have been like good in the regular season, absolutely cannot get it done in the playoffs, and they really haven't shooken up their, core roster lately. Do you think Dallas starts to make some moves at this deadline, try to get in a playoff position, or do you think they're going to be sellers this year?
I think that they're going to be sellers, and the reason I say this is because Jamie Benn is on, I believe his cap hit is $9.5 million. I think he's probably pushing mid-30s now. His scoring production with Tyler Seguin has started to decline. I would want to move them out for good prospects, good young players. Like Jason Robertson's a great player. You definitely want to hold on to him. If Dallas is looking to move John Klingberg as well, for me, I see them as being more sellers. I see them trading all of those guys for good draft picks to get a good pipeline of young players coming in and building for the future while still staying competitive. So for me, I see Dallas being more of a seller.
Yeah. It's so tough, man, because like Dallas right now, at the time of recording this, is tied with Edmonton, literally straight across the board. Both teams have 51 games played. They're both 20-3, 59 points. They both have 25 regulation overtime wins, so they're literally tied with Edmonton for that last wildcard spot in the West. But I think I agree with you. I think even if they do squeak into these playoffs, I don't see them as contenders, and I definitely think they're a first-round exit. But going back to Jake Ottinger, he's been such a bright spot for the Dallas Stars. You look at Holtby. Holtby has a 9-10-1 record with a 9-12 and a 278. You look at Hudobin, who has a 3-4-1 record with an 879 and a 364. But then you look at Ottinger, and he has a 16-6-1 in record with a shutout, a 921 and a 226. So, as you can obviously tell there that Ottinger is feeling his stride there in Dallas, and he's been the backbone for their team. And it's just tough to see when a player or a goalie is just playing, lights out for the team, and the team just can't get it done around them. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Jason Robertson, actually 47 points in 43 games this year, 22 goals. I think this is only his sophomore year too, so that's cool. That's really good to see. Joe Pavelski, 54 points in 51 games. Roope Hintz, 43 and 49, but it drops off after there. Like, we're talking Seguin is their fourth highest scorer, and he's got 29 points in 51 games, so yeah, I think I agree with you there, Brody. I do think Dallas is going to be sellers this year. They're not going to be able to get it done with their current core, so we'll have to keep tabs on that. I'm so excited for trade deadline, man. We're less than a month away now, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. This flat salary cap is making things very interesting. So excited for that. We're going to keep tabs on trade rumors and whatnot as the time comes. If we're talking about feel-good stories as well, Brody, Patrick Laine. Holy man. He is on fire again. He's got points in 11 straight games for the Blue Jackets. Like I said earlier at the start of this episode, Blue Jackets tied for the Canadiens with the longest active win streak right now. They have a 4-game win streak, and they're currently, they're still 9 points out of a wild card spot. But there is life. There's definitely life, especially with Patrick Laine performing. What do you think about Patty Laine? What do you think about him?
Patty Laine is a goal-scoring machine right now, man. What has he got, like 13 goals or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
During that run, yeah, he's been on another level, and man, that guy can he can shoot the puck like crazy. Like, he's got an absolute rocket of a shot, and when he's on, man, he can score from will. Like, I believe he got a 5-goal game against the St. Louis Blues a few years ago. Like, this guy can pop off, and right now he's producing for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it's nice to see him producing again, because there was a little while where he was really struggling to put the puck in the net and produce offensively. So for Laine to get on a roll like this is great for the team, and hopefully he can keep it going.
Yeah, it's nice to see Columbus starting to come around a little bit. Their core honestly isn't that bad. They're 7-3-0 in their last 10. It's nice to see Merzlikins is having one heck of a season as well for the Blue Jackets. But yeah, Patty Laine, 36 points in 32 games this year, 19 of those being goals. He's their third leading scorer on the Blue Jackets, and he's played about 17 less games than other guys like Voracek and Bjorkstrand and Werenski and stuff. So it's good to see Patty Laine. He's going crazy right now. It's nice to see him come back to form, and you hate to see it when, a second overall player starts to struggle, and he's been through so much in his personal life recently, and it's nice to see him get back on his feet. So yeah, Patty Laine is going crazy. Speaking of goal-scoring machines, well, maybe not machines. If anything, he's a pest machine. Corey Perry, baby. Scored his 400th career goal. Congratulations to Corey Perry. Man, as a Flames fan, I can't get around it, man. I don't like the guy, but he's had success. He's won a cup. He's won what? He's won one or two? He's won one, right? Or is it two? It might be two. Did he win one when he was with Tampa Bay?
No, I think he just signed with Tampa this year. I think
he just signed with Tampa. Yes, yeah. He was Montreal last year, and then he lost in the Cup Finals. So he's been to Cup Finals. He won one ring in 2007 with the Ducks. But yeah, 400 career goals. What do you think about that, Brody?
Well, I gotta agree with you on that one. I hate Corey Perry personally, being a fan of a rival team, but there's no denying he's had a great career, and he's a Stanley Cup champion, and that 2007 Ducks team was ridiculous.
Disgusting.
That team was just stacked, and yeah, he's had a great career, and he's been there even a couple times after his cup. He lost with the Dallas Stars, unfortunately, to Tampa.
Right.
Then he went to Montreal and lost again to Tampa. So if you can't beat him, why not join him? And now he's on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're having a good season there. And yeah, for 400 goals is it's great to see, and hopefully he can keep that going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, if you can't beat him, join him, and that's what he's trying to do. It reminds me of, you remember Marian Hossa back in 08-09, and then I think it was 9-10 when he played on the Penguins, lost to the Red Wings in the Cup Final, and then it was a flip-flop, and he played for the Red Wings and lost to the Penguins in the next year in the Cup Final. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit, but yeah, Corey Perry, 400 career goals. Congratulations to him. As much as we despise him, he's had a heck of a season, and congrats to him. Speaking of unlikable / despisable players, let's talk about a guy that came out of retirement after 10 years of not playing, signed a professional deal in the ECHL, and just got released today. Sean Avery, man, what a guy, what a personality. Signed an ECHL walk-on tryout pretty much with the Orlando Solar Bears, that's what their name is, in the ECHL. Got released 4 days later. What do you think happened there, Brody?
Probably just too old to really compete. I mean, he's 41 years old now. He hasn't played in forever. It's probably just his conditioning just wasn't there for what he was signing up to play. I mean, that's still a professional league, and yeah, when you haven't played in 10 years and you're trying to shake off the rust in a short amount of time, it's tough to get up to speed real quick, and I think that's just what happened. I think it was just his age caught up to him, and he just wasn't able to get up to speed.
I have to ask, did you see what Matthew Barnaby said about the whole situation?
I didn't see it, actually, no.
So there was rumors that Sean Avery was going to sign with the Solar Bears, and Barnaby basically came out on Twitter and said, if the Solar Bears sign Sean Avery, I will sign a contract to any team in the same division and play as many minutes a night that I did in the NHL. Wouldn't that have been absolutely awesome to see? 40-year-old Barnaby and Sean Avery out there dropping the gloves and scrapping every single night in the ECHL. That would have been absolutely hilarious to see. I'm just picturing it now, and that would be hilarious. But yeah, Barnaby, he came out and he was not having any of it, but doesn't matter anymore. Sean Avery did get released by the Solar Bears, couldn't crack their rosters, so kind of funny. Let's talk about players that are on rosters, specifically in the NHL. I want to talk about a player that he's gotten so much criticism in his career so far, but he's having a good season. Let's talk about Jesperi Kotkaniemi for a bit, Brody. Jesperi Kotkaniemi tied his season high in goals this year, and he's played 33 less games than his normal season high. What do you think about Kotkaniemi's play with the Carolina Hurricanes this year?
I think it's a pretty good fit for him. I mean, is producing more offensively. I'm going to be honest, I haven't really looked too much into his stats, but when you say he's tied his career high in goals in 33 less games, he must be doing something right. And Carolina's a much deeper team than Montreal is. He's probably under less pressure as well, not being in a Canadian market and being such a young kid. I believe he was a third overall pick by the Canadiens.
Pick to Montreal, yeah.
Yeah, so he definitely has less pressure playing in an American market. Not as much media attention there, and yeah, it's definitely great to see. He's on a really good team, and he's probably going to be gearing up for a cup run. I mean, Carolina could definitely go on a deep run this year. They're a very good team, and it's just funny that Montreal tried to offer sheet Sebastian Aho, and then Carolina just goes right back at him with Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and I believe it was a $6 million offer sheet, and then they also put in like a $20 signing bonus or something like that. Yeah.
So long story short, I made a YouTube video about this. It's one of my best performing YouTube videos. Your boy Zoo on YouTube, if you haven't checked me out yet. Long story short. Yeah, so Sebastian Aho was offer sheeted in 2019 by the Montreal Canadiens. Carolina, obviously they were going to match it. Sebastian Aho, he's top 20 player in the league. The Carolina Hurricanes Twitter account had a heyday with that one. They posted a poll on Twitter. They said, "Do we match the offer sheet?" And the two options in the poll were yes or we. So obviously Carolina matched the offer sheet, and then fast forward to 1 year later, the Carolina Hurricanes offer sheet Jesperi Kotkaniemi. It's a $6 million contract, and the signing bonus was $20 to represent Sebastian Aho's jersey number 20. So pretty funny stuff there between the two teams. You love to see a little bit of pittiness. It's so funny in major sports to see, professional organizations be so pitty towards each other. But yeah, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, his career high is 11 goals in 80 games. Now, he's not meant to be a goal scorer. He's one of those two-way playmaking kind of guys. But he has 11 goals and 11 assists in 47 games this year, and he's a +2 on Carolina. So it's nice to see him bounce back a little bit. His deal is going to expire after this year, so we'll have to see what happens if he, stays with Carolina. Obviously, he's gelling well with them, so I don't see why he would stay with them, take a less contract hit, and sign back with the Hurricanes. But nice to see a guy like that. Like you said, he's not playing in the Canadian market anymore, so there's a lot less pressure off of his shoulders. But it's nice to see him bounce back and start producing again and having a great season with the Hurricanes. So yeah, Jesperi Kotkaniemi having a good year. Nice to see him bounce back. And is there anything else you want to talk about in this episode, Brody?
There's a few topics. I mean,
we
could talk about Johnny Gaudreau. He's got I believe he's a pending UFA, and the Flames assistant GM is confident that they'll be able to re-sign him. I don't know if you heard much about that, but
I did a little bit. Yeah. Craig Conroy, the assistant GM of the Flames, basically came out and said, "Yeah, there's no question we're going to re-sign Johnny Gaudreau after the season." That's a huge relief off of the shoulders of Flames fans, myself included. Johnny Gaudreau has been having a absolutely wonderful season with the Flames so far. Just pulling up his stats here real quick, but having a guy like that. Being able to, he's been having a career year. He's been helping that Flames, with that 10-game win streak, and they've been working as a unit. But that top line between him, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau, if we can get them all long-term, I know Tkachuk's also a restricted free agent, so that's going to complicate things a little bit. But if we can get that line together long-term, it's going to be wonderful for the Flames. But yeah, Johnny Gaudreau, 20 goals, 44 assists for 64 points in 50 games this year. And if I'm not mistaken, he still, I think, leads the league in plus-minus with a +39. So awesome to see. Just don't know what the year length and the average value is going to be. So that's a little concerning because the Flames are pretty close to their max cap. So I'm a little worried what the Flames are going to do there, but it's nice to see that Gaudreau is obviously having positive talks with the organization and wants to come back to Calgary. I know there was a lot of people saying if Calgary wasn't going to compete this year, Gaudreau would consider maybe going back to a team like New Jersey or Philadelphia that's right close to home, but yeah, good to hear that they're having positive conversations about extending him, and yeah, looking forward to it. Anything else, Brody?
Yeah, I wanna ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the Flames are confident that they're going to be able to sign Johnny Gaudreau, what about Matthew Tkachuk? Because, like you said, he is an RFA, and I believe his qualifying offer is like $9 million or something. Like it's up
It's
there,
high.
like this offseason. So, and they gotta sign him. They gotta sign Mangiapane. They gotta sign Shillington. Like that's a lot of their good young players that they're gonna have to sign. And with 27 million cap space, like I feel like Gaudreau and Kachuk would eat up a fair bit of that. So
Yeah, you're
I don't
you're
know.
right
What do you
about
think
that.
about that?
You're right about that. It's a little concerning, yes, don't get me wrong, but I think the Flames realize how much value Kachuk and Gaudreau bring to that roster, and I don't see why, Brad Treliving doesn't do something to keep those guys around. Whether it be moving players with high cap hit, I'm really hoping Lucic isn't on the chopping block. I know Lucic has such a big contract, only one more year left on it, but he's been such a locker room guy for that team, and he's been helping out all the young guns coming up, and very good morale in the locker room. But maybe some guy like Sean Monahan. I've heard reports as well that Mangiapane's agent is telling him to test the free agent market. He is restricted, so that could backfire in the Flames' position, but it could also help them out a little bit, clear up some cap so they have some time and space to sign Mangiapane. He's having a heck of a season too, so he's going to be asking for a little bit more. He's got 26 goals already this season, so it's going to be interesting. I know the Flames are definitely coming to a crunch here, and Treliving's gonna have to work some magic. I'm hoping he pulls a Joe Sakic and like a Nate Mack contract and try and get them just sign a cap like friendly deal with the team so they can keep them all together. But we're gonna have to see how this year goes. We're gonna have to see how the playoffs go as well. The Flames are currently sitting first in the Pacific. They've got 3 points, I think, on 3 points on LA and Vegas, and they got a couple games at hand over those teams. So they're definitely pushing for the playoffs. It's all going to depend, on their playoff success, if they hopefully, fingers crossed, have any. And I guess we'll have to see in the offseason where that goes. So, any more things to talk about, Brody?
I do, and this is gonna suck for Leafs fans to hear. It was definitely tough to hear for myself as well. Leafs prospect Rodion Amirov. He was diagnosed with a brain tumor. He started the season with Salavat UFA of the KHL. He suffered an injury to open the season, but during the course of his recovery, he developed some new unrelated symptoms that required ongoing extensive investigation, according to GM Kyle Dubas. And he's currently at a medical facility in Germany undergoing treatment for a brain tumor. So that's definitely tough to see. And what are your thoughts on that one?
It sucks, man. It really does suck, and a brain tumor is definitely nothing to joke around with. I'm glad that they recognized it early. They're getting him in for treatments early. You hate to see it happen, especially with such a prospect of his caliber. Like you said, he was a former first-round pick for the Leafs, so it really does suck to see something like that happen. And all you can do, is just sit there and hope for the best for him. Hope he has a super speedy recovery, and hope he gets back to playing the game he loves. So prayers for him, and let's hope he can bounce back, maybe even better than ever. So anything else?
I do, and we can't end the podcast without talking about Big Z. Passed Chris Chelios for first on the NHL's all-time games played for defensemen at 1,652 games for Big Z, which is absolutely crazy. Like, this guy has been in the NHL since before I was born, playing for the New York Islanders. I think his rookie season was like 1996 or something like that. Like, he's been around for a long time. Stanley Cup champion with the Boston Bruins in 2011. This guy's an absolute menace on the ice, and good for him to still be playing at 44. And teams are still interested in this guy as well. Come deadline time, there has been talk about Zdeno Chara, so that's great to see. And what are your thoughts about Big Z passing Chris Chelios?
Well, how fitting is it that Zdeno Chara gets into a fight in that game?
That's very fitting.
He gets into a fight in his record-setting game. That sounds just like Zdeno Chara, but yeah, what an absolute crazy career he's had. Multiple Stanley Cup wins, and bounced around a couple teams, especially lately in his last few seasons here, but an absolute shutdown defenseman. You can't, talk about Zdeno Chara without talking about his 6'9" height. Like, guy's a monster. Absolute lockdown defenseman. Plays physical, plays with heart, and I think really the key driving factor for why he's able to play so long is how good he is in physical shape. Like, you see some of the photos online of Zdeno Chara, 40 plus years old, and he's got an absolute ripped 6-pack, and he's just a machine. Like, he is out of this world when it comes to physical health, and that definitely has to play a factor in why he's been able to play so long. So it's cool to see another one of those records in the NHL being broken, a very long, winded record that, some of these records we thought we'd never see in a lifetime being broken. So it's cool to see them all, especially within one season with Keith Yandel and then Zdeno Chara. So yeah, congrats to Zdeno Chara there. Very cool to see. You love to see it, really. So anything else, Brody?
That's pretty much going to do it for me, man. Don't have really any other topics to talk about for the week, so...
Yeah, this week was a little bit lackluster in terms of how last week went, but before we wrap up this podcast, I would like to talk about what's going on in the world right now. Obviously, you should know that Russia has invaded Ukraine, and it's very scary over there. I've seen so many posts online, and... so many people terrified for the future and what's about to happen, but we wish all the people in the country of Ukraine the best of luck. We wish them all to stay safe, and our thoughts and condolences are with everyone in the country of Ukraine.
Thoughts and prayers are with everyone over there in Ukraine, and hope everyone stays healthy, stays safe, and just pray for all the people with loved ones in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. But that is going to do it for episode number 5 of the Cherry Pickers podcast. We appreciate all of you for coming in and tuning in and following along with us as we dive into the news and the world of hockey. Our podcast is available on all streaming platforms, whether it be Spotify Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We upload an episode every single Sunday at 12 o'clock Mountain Time. And we appreciate you all for listening, and take care.